Hello, and welcome to another episode of Starman Talk the Talk. I'm your host, Curtis, as always, and this is my minion, Devin, as always.
I hate you for that.
Just as intended. So welcome to our beautiful show about video game monsters. So yeah,
Someone wants their own show.
So yeah, I've decided to commandeer this show and planning to run it kind of like Crypt Keeper does, complete with someone else trying to take the show back. So thought that would be a good bit.
Yeah, no, I think we all know who the Crypt Keeper is here.
One and only, right?
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. So this episode is going to be about a personal topic of mine, kind of close, near and dear to my heart, I would say, and that is video game monsters. I kind of love them. Most of the time when people are playing video games and chatting about video games, talking about their favorite heroes, their favorite villains, their favorite NPCs. When I play games, I really like to go and hunt down all the monsters in a game. And that means that I usually end up getting all the side quests or whatever else just by the nature of the beast. But I feel like the actual monsters themselves don't get as much appreciation as they deserve. There's exceptions. Some series have more love than others for their monsters, but I really do love the little guys, so I wanted to chat about them.
That's fair. I'm just here a lot further right, I guess.
That's right. Yeah, taking my unwilling hostage in this.
Yeah. At least you're not Billy. Billy hit me with a Ken does, dude.
Yeah. Physical and emotional abuse. Different kinds of abuse happening here. Anyways, I'd love to just chat about monsters at large in video games for a while.
If anyone's wondering, everyone's contract was up this year, and this is the only way I can get them to sign off for another.
Yeah, exactly. Inflicting whatever we wanted upon the host.
Yeah.
Yeah. Them's the breaks.
So yes, monster designs.
Yes.
I want to start off with, what is your favorite series for monsters?
That's a really good question, and I think I actually have an answer, which is Dragon Quest. That is the pinnacle for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
That actually kind of threw me off. I was like, okay, Dragon Quest is kind of cutesy monsters, but I find all the monsters have a personality.
That's it.
When you look at them.
That's it. Yeah. There's such an incredible range of monster designs in that series, yet they all have like a cohesive aesthetic, and that's because as you probably know, or if you don't, then the main monster designer for that series has always been Akira Toriyama, who R.I.P. passed away earlier, I guess last year, by the time you're hearing this, but he was the main genius behind the monster designs in that series. So of course you know him from Dragon Ball, but as cool as Dragon Ball is, as iconic as Dragon Ball is, I feel like his best artistic work is in Dragon Quest and the monsters. He just has such a rich variety of them. There's anything from machines to undead to just silly trolls, and of course the ever beloved slime. Like, and every one of them is distinctive and interesting, and like you said, full of personality.
Yeah.
Have you had much experience with that series in terms of obviously you know the slime.
I know the slime. I know a few of the monsters, only because I played Dragon Quest Sword on the Wii.
Right. Underrated game, by the way.
A very underrated Wii game, by the way.
Yeah.
One that actually, proper use of the Wiimote, I think.
It did, yeah. Before even that Wii Motion Plus or whatever came out. I really liked it. I thought it was great.
Yeah.
You played 9 as well, right?
9 and 7?
8, I think it was. The one with Jessica, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, that was on the PS2.
But I never completed a Dragon Quest game other than Swords.
Than Swords.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's not from a lack of the monster design. I love the design. It's just, I got burned out on JRPGs a long time ago.
I know.
It's very hard for me to get into one.
Yeah, I know. I know that's kind of been a thing that's a genre of the past for you, let's say.
Yeah.
I think what makes it really stand out, the designs themselves speak volumes, but almost every game from now has always had really strong animations as well.
Yeah.
The monsters always have a really cool animation for entering battle, for attacking, and when they're defeated. And that is to me where something really shines, is if you have unique animations for your monsters entering, attacking, and dying. Like, that is the holy trinity.
Yes.
You don't just come up with some generic poof animation for everything. You actually take the time to think, here's a fun little animation for when you beat this guy.
Yeah, he falls over and his feet kick up.
Exactly, yeah. There's one of them where it's a little cucumber dude, and he has a spear, and when you critically destroy him, he falls down, and the spear flies up in the air, and he barely catches it before it stabs him.
Yeah.
So, like, just stuff like that clearly shows that they care.
Yes.
I mean, to the extent that there's an entire spin-off series called Dragon Quest Monsters, right? Like,
yeah.
It's all about, like, catching them all. So, I think, actually, as funny as it sounds, Dragon Quest actually kind of did the monster catching thing to a limited extent before Pokemon. I think it was 5 was the first in the series that let you actually recruit monsters to your party. And that was for the SNES, I don't know when it was exactly, but early 90s. So there you have it. It kind of beat Pokemon to the party, even. But yeah, obviously there was a spin-off series later called Monsters, and it really just did the Pokemon thing, but in its own way, which is really cool too.
Yeah.
So yeah, that series has always done really, really good justice by its monsters and monster designs, and I love it to bits. My favorite, if I had to pick a favorite design for that series, it would probably be the Mimic. I really love that Mimic design. Look it up if you don't know what it looks like, but it's a little treasure chest with, glowing eyes in like a void mouth and a long waggling tongue, and whenever the animation plays of it running towards you, it just looks so gleeful. It's so excited to murder you.
Yeah. That's what I want to see in my killer monsters.
Yeah.
It has to have a glee.
Yeah, it wants to love its job.
Yeah.
And the Mimic in that game, in those games, definitely love their jobs, let me tell you what.
Yeah.
So, love that series. I would say that is my number one, but there are others that I love too. What is your favorite series for monster designs?
I was pondering this. This is why I was like, because Castlevania comes up. But
it is, yeah. It's a really good one too.
Yeah. And I was like, any of the FromSoft games have really beautiful monster designs when you actually stop and look at them.
Yeah, there's a Miyazaki interview. He's the creator of the series, and his philosophy was make it make sense in the world, basically, and also make it beautiful in its own way. Even if it's ugly, there should be a beauty and like an aesthetic, intentionality behind it. Don't just make it ugly for ugly's sake.
Yeah.
And I think that's awesome.
Yeah. I was like, everything you come across, it makes sense why it's there.
Yeah.
To a degree. Or if you go lore digging, it's like, oh, that's why it's there.
Yeah. Yeah. He does a really good job of making it feel like it belongs.
Yeah.
I will say, like, to your point of belonging, in a lot of Japanese games specifically, I find kind of just have monsters that don't really fit at all, but I don't mind that at all, I will say. But you look at some random ungodly amalgamation or whatever, and it's just like, how does this fit into the story? Don't worry about it. It's just something to fight.
Yeah. And I was like, well, that ruins the monster completely if it doesn't have a reason to be here. In my mind.
I'm totally okay with it, but I do see what you mean. Like,
yes.
Having a place just as an extra level of intrigue to the monster.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Castlevania, Souls, anything else?
Trying to think. I just generally overall, I like every monster design in a game.
Yeah. A fellow aficionado.
Yeah.
They just add so much, right? Like, you need something to fight.
Yeah.
Imagine an RPG that was just fighting people all the time.
Like, I get bored of it.
Yeah. There's some tactics games that are good that more or less have just people to fight, but I'm just trying to think of like a JRPG in like going through and just fighting people all the time. I'm sure there's an example out there, but I don't want to play it.
Yeah, I think the Fire Emblem games would be a good example of that. I
Yeah.
don't remember too many monsters in Fire Emblem.
There was 2 games, I want to say, that really emphasized monsters, but only 2. I think it was actually the second game and 8, which I really like, Sacred Stones.
Yeah.
To the point where like I bought Sacred Stones and I'm like, yeah, this series is great, and I looked at the rest and I'm like, well, I'll get to them eventually.
Yeah.
Just literally just because it had monsters. It was a big deciding factor.
And I'm a huge fan of anything that's like a Pokemon-esque game.
Yeah.
Especially, like, Cassette Beast is a good one for... It's pixelated art, but it's such good monster designs.
Yeah.
That really actually suit the theme of that world.
Yeah, I'd love to play that, actually. I've seen it on Steam advertised, and you've actually played it quite a bit, right?
Yeah. I've beaten it.
Oh, you have? Okay.
Yeah. And I'm thinking I'm going to start a new playthrough soon.
Nice. And it's more or less Pokemon, but with like a musical theme? Is that right?
It's Pokemon, but you become the Pokemon, and then you fuse with your partner, who also is the Pokemon, to make an even stronger Pokemon.
Nice.
Yeah.
So a bit of like the Shin Megami Tensei series fusion and stuff like that.
And it uses walkie-talkie and cassette tapes to do that.
Yeah.
So instead of like throwing a Pokeball at it, you record them on a cassette tape, and then to become the monster, you play the cassette tape while you listen to it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now the name makes sense.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. Any discussion of monsters wouldn't be complete without a discussion of Pokemon and its various, imitators and sometimes inspirations.
Yeah. I'll even say successors.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's somewhere I was like, I like this way better than a Pokemon.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of games that have really done it well. You'd say Cassette Beast is above any Pokemon?
In terms of monster design, yes. In terms of gameplay, it's a little hard to get around the elemental system. It took me a while to figure out. I was like, oh, this beats that, this causes this. Because it's not like this does more damage to this. It's like this turns this into that now.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. I think it's like if you hit plastic with fire, it turns into poison type.
Okay. That's kind of cool, though.
Yeah.
But hard to wrap your head around.
Yeah, it's hard to wrap your head around. It's like, oh, I just made that thing worse. Or better, depending on how you're built.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Trying to think. So besides the Pokemon games, there's also Digimon.
Obviously.
I think, Monster Rancher. What are some other good creature collectors that have come out over the years? Or some notable ones?
If you're watching our channel, we're doing Monster Sanctuary.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah.
And that one's like is that a Metroidvania?
Yes, it is.
It's
a search action platformer.
Nice. Yeah, also that. I hope one day that catches on more.
Yeah.
Let's see. Has been... Well, I guess I mentioned it briefly there, but one of my other favorite series is easily Shin Megami Tensei. That's a pretty hard one to deny. The appeal of that one is it draws in monsters from all across, worldwide mythology, and has a creative spin on all of them.
Yeah.
There's been different games with some different interpretations, even of the various characters, depending on the artist of the day. There's, the guy that used to do it, Kazuma Kaneko, made a bunch of iconic ones, and then there's been some other artists over the past, I'll say, decade or whatever that have kind of done their own spins on a lot of them. But there's a lot of amazing designs, and like a staggering number of unique designs as well. Like you get everything from Zeus to random obscure deities from this or that religion. It really kind of has a great breadth, and there's a lot of really creative spins on monster designs based on their mythology. So it's really cool to check out.
That's another thing I like. I like any game that takes from real world mythology and turns that into a monster design.
It's such a good untapped well, right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. There's so much you can pull from and use as inspiration. Like Castlevania, of course, has some of that too. But SMT really nails it.
Yeah. Because I was like, the Japanese alone have enough yokai.
Yokai are great, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like no other culture has such a cool little diverse bestiary as yokai. Like it's just such a fun little assortment of monsters that are just like from any walk of life, like some umbrella, some lantern,
Yep.
some ghost toilet lady.
Yep.
so much mundanity and yet so horrifying in a lot of cases. Yeah, I love games that adapt those. Okami does a good job of pulling in yokai, and there's a lot of cool series as well. Have you played much of Megami Tensei, by the way?
I played one game I borrowed from you, and I didn't get too far. I don't like that it's random if you can catch the monster and you can lose resources if they... Because you kind of have to bargain with them if you want them on your team.
It's really clever, but it is... I totally get that it's a barrier for some people.
Yeah.
It is... rather than throwing a Pokeball or whatever at them, you actually have to barter with them like a demon and like say, I offer up my life, I offer up my money, I offer up this and that to make a contract with you. It's pretty cool and ingenious, but it is also very random and to some degrees frustrating depending on the game.
Yeah.
It also is again like a fusion system where you can merge together this and that demon to get a stronger one and inherit skills. So it's very much a worthwhile series if you like monsters and mixing and matching them, but also be aware that the recruitment function is
kind of a nightmare.
Yeah, you gotta get used to it, let's say. It's and some games are more friendly about it than others. Some are just like seem to be rigged against you. Some are a bit more rigged in your favor, depending on the game. The newer ones tend to be more in your favor, I'll say. The older ones, maybe not so much.
No, I think it was one of the older ones, and I was like, I gave up half my health, a lot of my money, and they just ran off with it. I was like, ah!
Perfect.
Yeah, I was like, as a true demon would, I guess.
Exactly.
Found some sucker in the dungeon that just like, hey, I'll give you my blood and money if you join me. Sure.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed behind my back.
Yeah, exactly.
Sure, gullible traveler, I'll take all your shit.
Yeah, I gotta respect the moxie.
Yeah.
Behind that philosophy. And I think the one other series that I really wanted to highlight big time was the Mother/Earthbound series.
Yes.
I really do love the modern setting and the fact that it pulls in inanimate objects, animals, annoying people, all into one big menagerie of kooky character design.
Yes.
Anything from hippies to lamps to taxis and horrible space aliens. I gotta love it.
How can you not? I mean, it's just... It really symbolizes how evil the world went.
Yeah.
It's like, that taxi's now evil. Why? Because Gaius, I guess. Like, alien energies make things weird.
Yeah. It's kind of like the full moon, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Except that when it's aliens, it's not just living things that go crazy, it's everything. Your phone will strangle you.
Yeah.
Rest assured. There's been 3 official games in that series. Mother for the Famicom, Earthbound for Super, and Mother 3 for GBA. Mother 3 has some interesting twists as well in terms of it's got kind of like an environmentalist theme and message behind it, and you have the main enemies called the Pig Army, or the Pig Mask Army, experimenting with wild animals, let's say, to make them stronger, more fierce. So you have these weird hybrid mashups of different animals, and they play God and all that kind of thing.
The weird science creations.
Exactly.
Yeah. I love those to a degree.
They do a really good job with them in Mother 3.
Yeah. There's some series where it's like, okay, I got it. It's just you smashed a Triceratops Rex head on top of this horse or something.
Yeah. Yeah. There's some of that, but it's always funny. They do a really good job with the naming scheme.
Yeah. The naming scheme alone in that I've seen is really fun.
It is.
And it's the, you mash 2 animals that, why would you ever do that?
Yeah, pretty much. No business being together whatsoever. Yeah.
It's like the matching a fish to a bird.
Yes.
He's like, why?
Yeah. They gotta play God.
Yeah.
They gotta play God. When you find out who's behind it all, aka the worst little brat in the world, it kind of makes sense that he'd see the world as his plaything. He's like the ultimate evil version of Sid from Toy Story.
Yes.
Good old Porky.
Yep.
Yeah, it works out quite well. They've even got some roboticization stuff going on in it, so it's pretty funny. But yeah, do you have you like I kind of said the Mimic from Dragon Quest. Is there a one or two monster designs that stand out to you as kind of favorites?
I'm trying to think on that too. Nothing specific. I always like a good slime monster in anything.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know why, I just have a fascination with a slime.
Yeah.
Because it's either the most easiest monster, it's your first beginning monsters, or my god, are they impossible to fight.
Yeah. Well, when you think of slime and its infinite potential, right? Like,
yeah.
It could be anything.
Literally.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, hi, I'm immune to physical damage, and you're not a mage. Guess what?
Yeah, seriously. Yeah. It's all fun and games for the level 1 slimes until you fight level 99 slimes, right?
Yeah.
And get your ass kicked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they come in such shape as variety. Hi, I'm a poison one. That one's a forest one. That's a fire one. Don't touch him.
Yep. Yeah, you think of like the Flans from Final Fantasy. They're all elemental based, right? Like hurt them based on their element and all that fun stuff. Like slime, such a versatile substance. It could be anything. Yeah, it's quite a world out there of monsters. Trying to think, anything else you wanted to say about them, or any series you wanted to call out before we wrap up?
No, I was going to say we're going to have to wrap this up soon, so I was like, if you have any final thoughts.
Yeah, final thoughts are just really, like I said at the beginning, it's fun just to play through and see what any given artist has come up with to further monsters. It's probably the main reason I still love JRPGs as much as I do, is, no matter how minimalistic or copy-paste or whatever the plot can sometimes be in those games, I usually find the bestiary always worth delving into, and that's why I'll keep coming back.
Well said.
Yeah.
I don't think I have anything more on my end. When I play a game, first thing I look at is the monster designs. And
yeah.
If they look interesting or they suit the world that they're in, I will probably be more invested. What's the other word for that? Immersed in the game.
Yeah. I'm right there with you. Bring them on, I say. Any genre, anytime.
I will, as a horror buff, say that your monster design in a horror game is gotta be on point.
It's tantamount to the experience, isn't it? Yeah. As fans of Lovecraft, like in all the cool designs that, not only him, but also his various, folks over the years who have carried the mantle of Lovecraftian horror, like, that's one of the main appeals to that entire universe, right? Like, it's unknowable, but it's also really big and spooky and icky. a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. Awesome. But this has been my inaugural episode of Talk the Talk, and it's been a blast chatting about monsters. Hope you felt the same.
I did.
Awesome. We will catch you guys next time.
Have a good one, guys.
Later.